Hello, this is Iggy from ScooterLab and we're here for the Suzuki Address 125 and Avenis 125 launch. Two new scooters for this year, and it's going to be followed up by a third one, which will be the all-new Bergman 125. These scooters start at $2,499 for the Address and $2,699 for the Avenis. Then it's going to be $2,999 for the Bergman, so quite a good spread. Just 500 quid between the cheapest and the most expensive. They're all running the same engine, which is a well-established engine in the Far East. Sold, I think, 5 million units already. It's economical, it's air-cooled, it's do 148 to the gallon apparently. Simple engine but effective. Both got the same sort of power, but it's quite a torquey engine, so even though it's air-cooled, it pulls away quite well. From a spec point of view, this one's got the analog dash. This one's got a bit of a funkier LCD dash with a few more functions. It's also got a little brake lock here. But other than that, apart from styling, there's not too much difference. You know, it's run on the same sort of chassis. The Address is going to appeal more to the average commuter, whereas the Avenis is probably going to appeal to sort of teenagers, that sort of age bracket, but also trendy older riders. And then you've got the Bergman, which we'll come to in a few months when it arrives, which will be a bit more sophisticated, should we say. We've had a good day out, and both great scooters, and they're a good addition to the Suzuki range, which has been lacking really on the 125s and on the scooters for a few years. So it's good to see them back. We'll let you watch the rest of the video and see what you think. We're currently riding the Suzuki Avenis 125. This is a slightly more expensive model. It sits in between the Address at $2,499. This is $2,699, and then the Bergman, when it arrives, will be $2,999. So it's a good middle of the range model. All three scooters are air-cooled, running the same engine. It's an engine that Suzuki's been using for quite a few years in the Far Eastern markets, so it's a well tried and tested engine. Yeah, it's quite a torquey motor, which is always good, which is why it pulls off quite well from a standstill. And it's also very economical. Suzuki are claiming 148 miles per gallon, which is very good, really. If you're sort of comparing things with electric, then it's still very cheap to run, especially with the price of charging electric scooters these days. It's not as cheap as it used to be. And you do get the character of a petrol-driven engine, which is always good. Now the Avenis has got a nice digital clock, as you can see here, LCD clock. Big numbers there for us older people to read, because we've got rubbish eyes, apparently. It's got a bit more information on the dash than the analog one on the Address, and it's a lot nicer to look at. That having said that, the Address dash is still fairly good. Both of them have got eco functions, so if you're riding economically, on this one you'll get a little light down here. There, look, eco. They both run on the same chassis pretty much, although there are a few differences in weight. There's a couple of kilos extra in the Avenis than the Address. Slightly different geometry. The footboards are different. Obviously the looks are very different. This is quite sporty, whereas the Avenis is a bit sort of middle of the road commuter machine. Both comfortable, and can both take a pillion and a rider, or rider and a pillion, should I say. You'll see 60 mile an hour on this, on the clock, which we'll be going to in a minute. I'm still sat up, so 58. not get it before this roundabout, but it does do 60. And for an air-cooled engine, it's quite nippy. Suspension wise, both scooters feel quite plush, certainly a lot better than many of the cheaper brands which you'd expect from Suzuki. And Suzuki have got around 80 dealers in the UK, so you're never too far from a dealer. Oh, there's the 60 mile an hour, look. Both come with LED lights. They come with linked brakes with a front disc and a rear drum, and the brakes are very good. Don't really matter that it's drum on this, and you only really need to use the left lever for most riding situations. But yeah, I've got the front brake there if you need it just to steady yourself at slow speeds, or if you need to pull up extra sharp in an emergency situation or whatever, just to give you that extra bit of confidence. Both scooters run on a 12-inch front and 10-inch rear wheel and come with Dunlop tyres, which feel pretty good in this damp sort of conditions we've got today. All three of the new Suzuki 125s are built in India, which is not a problem. The quality is certainly good enough. Everything fits, everything works, switchgear's nice. Nothing feels cheap about it at all, and I quite like the styling of this one. The Avenis is your trendier, it's like 17-year-olds onwards, but people like me would go for this one just because I like something that looks a bit sporty. It's got a nice two-tone paintwork, nicer dashboard. It's 200 quid more than the Suzuki Address, but for me that 200 quid would be well spent. Now the Bergman, which is obviously Suzuki's best known scooter really, the new 125 will be arriving in a couple of months, so we'll be dealing with that one separately, but we'll look forward to seeing what that has to offer. Now the Suzuki Address, although it's a new Suzuki Address, it's a model we have had in the past. It's been well established, but it's always been a 110cc, so it's moved up to new power plant, and I think that transforms it, and it makes it compliant with UK legislation. Most of Europe, it's the same with their legislation, so you can ride a 125 at 17, so it's a bit pointless really having a 110cc. You might as well have that bit extra power. And it does make a difference. We've just swapped over to the Suzuki Address, and you can feel the difference in ergonomics, you know, just the difference in the footboard sizes, the way you sat. This feels a bit more compact, and also feels a little more agile, I think. This is the entry level 125 from Suzuki. It's a couple hundred quid cheaper than the Avenis. So you're getting an analogue dash rather than digital. Specs are slightly lower in some areas, but to be honest there's not a great lot in it. The engine's the same, similar sort of performance, well, no difference in performance, same engine. The dash flash there, that was going from bad mode to good mode, as in eco-friendly or not eco-friendly, but when you've got 148 miles per gallon you're not really killing many trees and birds. It's nice actually to be on a fuel driven scooter launch rather than an electric one. It's more and more these days we're testing electric scooters which do a job, and the government are pushing them, whatever. There we are in eco mode. They must have heard me talking about electric scooters. Yeah, the government's pushing electric as the answer to everything, but it's not really. When you're talking about a scooter like this, its environmental impact's not that great. You can repair this whereas replacing a battery on an electric scooter in a few years, you're cheaper buying another scooter. This can keep going forever. As has been proven by the vintage scooters I ride, I've still got 60 odd year old scooters on the road, which have more than paid their debt to society, I think. Whereas a battery one, it's not as simple as just repairing a motor. Once your battery goes, it's very expensive. Once again, the suspension's good on this. Better than a lot of 125s these days. Just feels quite flush, well damped. I'm going over these speed humps here. It's soaking them up quite nicely, which is always a good thing because our roads aren't getting any better. Both have got a charging point. On this model, it's just down here, which is exposed, and you chuck your phone in there while it's charging. On the Avenis, a closable compartment on the left of the leg shields. There's also on the Avenis a right hand sided compartment which is open, so you could chuck a bottle of water in there or you change for tolls, whatever. It's always handy to have some storage that you can get to whilst you're riding. Just save having to open compartments to get change if you're at a toll booth or whatever. For Suzuki this year, they've got these 3 new 125s out, and they've had a big gap in the market since the Address 110 vanished around about 2019, I think it was. And with that gap in the market, the other manufacturers have taken some decent numbers off them. They're expecting to do around about 2,200 units in the UK on these 3 models, which is fairly significant. Certainly a lot more than they'll be doing on bikes during the same period. So it's good to see Suzuki back in the scooter fold. So the price to sell, and you're also getting that quality that you expect with a Suzuki, that brand name, good dealer backup, 3-year warranty. You're getting a year's roadside assistance breakdown, and you're also getting a decent scoot. I've had quite a bit of fun on these today. Nippy enough, handle well, stop well. With the 3 types of scooter, all with different styles and personalities to an extent, they appeal to different riders. So they've got a good, nice tractor. Cheers for all that mud. So they've got a good cross section there to play with, from 17-year-olds on the first licence, whether that be male, female, right through to commuters who are looking for a cost-effective, time-saving, fun way to commute. People who perhaps trying to get out of the public transport, where they've got strikes to contend with, price rises on trains, massive price rises on already expensive mode of transport, whereas you can jump on a scooter and for £2,500 or less, they've got something that's theirs that they own, and they're still saving a lot of money each year on the train fares. So if you're one of them people that's thinking, is a scooter for me, and you've got a commute that's doable on a scooter, these are easily capable. You can do what you want on a 125, to be honest, but I'd say for the majority of commuters, sort of 10-15 miles is a reasonable 125 sort of distance. But if you have got more and you've got the time, then it will do it. So get off your train, save your Oyster card money, or whatever it is you commuters have to waste a fortune on, and commute on one of these. Get to college on one of these. Encourage your kids to go on a scooter. They'll get a lot more road sense and knowledge on this than they will in the first year of driving a car, and that knowledge lasts a lifetime. So check out your nearest Suzuki dealer, and let them know that ScooterLab sent you.